The mother lynx darts straight into the ranger's path, refusing to move aside, pacing in frantic, painful circles. Marcus slams on the brakes, his heart hammering. Lynxes are the ghosts of the wilderness, solitary hunters that have evolved over millions of years to never be seen by human eyes. And yet, here she is. A creature armed with razor-sharp claws, deliberately blocking his way deep in a wilderness so dark and silent it presses against the skin like something alive. She locks eyes with him through the glass, her golden gaze burning like embers, not with fear, with something deeper, heavier, more desperate. She takes a few steps forward, stops, twists, back to look over her shoulder, like she's giving a signal, like she's begging. A chill runs through Marcus. In the wild, no animal calls out to a human for help, unless something far more terrifying than a human is already happening somewhere just beyond the trees. Every instinct in Marcus is screaming, "Stay in the vehicle. Keep that boundary intact, the thin glass between the human world and the wild one. On one side, the world he can control. On the other, the world no one can." But the way she trembles, the way she keeps looking back, keeps insisting this isn't aggression. This is a plea. He pushes the door open and steps out. Instantly, the lynx flinches, her body going rigid as if shocked. Wild instinct and a mother's desperation are tearing each other apart in every trembling muscle. She could attack. She could vanish into the darkness of the forest in a single heartbeat. But she doesn't. She backs away a few steps, then stops and looks at him, waiting. Marcus grips his medical bag, knuckles pale, and follows. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's stepping into danger, trailing a predator deeper, darker, further into a forest being swallowed whole by an approaching storm. Thunder begins to roll from somewhere far away. The canopy above shudders. But something in her eyes makes it impossible to turn back. The pace of their journey is relentless. The mother lynx moves with the speed of desperation, constantly stopping to check whether the slow human behind her is keeping up, then launching forward again. Each time she looks back, Marcus sees in her eyes not patience but a countdown. His mind races with a chaotic mix of fear and awe, neither winning. He is completely isolated, no signal, no backup, no clear way out. Just the sound of wet leaves under his boots, wind cutting through ancient trees, and ahead the silhouette of a wild animal leading him somewhere no human was ever meant to go. Miles away from any possibility of backup, trusting his very survival to a wild creature that could tear him apart in seconds if it chose to. He watches her powerful shoulder muscles ripple with every desperate leap. That isn't beauty. That's a constant, bone-cold reminder that the thing guiding him through this forest could kill him at any moment. Why would she trust a human? Humans represent the ultimate historical threat to her entire species. Every cell in her body was built to flee, to hide, to strike if cornered. And yet, she keeps leading him forward. Only one force is powerful enough to override every one of those instincts: a mother's love. The kind that needs no language, no species, no logic. Then, without warning, she stops. Ahead is a massive collapse. Earth caved in, tree roots violently uprooted and piled on top of each other like the forest itself is fighting back. The mother lynx claws at the debris frantically, her paws slipping uselessly, her body shaking with each desperate attempt to dig through. Too heavy, too dense. The forest won't give back what it has swallowed. She lifts her head and looks directly at Marcus. No words needed. Every inch of her body carries one single meaning. Do something. Right now. Marcus drops to his knees beside her. This is the most terrifying moment of his life, not because of the debris, but because he is placing his body completely unprotected within direct striking range of a predator at the absolute peak of stress. One wrong move, one misread reflex, and nothing in this forest will save him. He slowly extends both bare hands, deliberate, controlled, his eyes never leaving her face. The lynx goes rigid immediately, dropping into a defensive crouch, every muscle coiled like a compressed spring. But she doesn't attack. She watches his moving hands with a focus so intense it borders on terrifying, as though she's reading every millimeter of his movement. Marcus begins to tear through the debris. Large rocks, packed earth, roots thick as a man's arm. He pulls, he pushes, he wrestles with the weight of an entire collapsed forest bearing down. His muscles scream with every second. Sweat and mud blur together across his face. Then he sees them. 2 lynx cubs so small they could fit in the palm of one hand, pinned under a dense lattice of unyielding tree roots. Their whole bodies are shaking. Their eyes are shut. The mother lynx steps closer, her face inches from Marcus's reaching arm, her hot breath against his skin. The tension in the air is suffocating, like a wire pulled to its absolute limit, waiting for something to snap. Her breath is pressing directly against his bare skin, rapid, shallow, panicked. Marcus can feel every exhale like a warning, branded into his flesh. He is trespassing into the most sacred, most fiercely protected space of a wild animal teetering on the edge of losing control. He gently wraps his trembling fingers around the body of the first trapped cub. 1 millimeter at a time, slow enough to hurt. He pulls the fragile life free from the wreckage with the precision of someone who understands that a single, careless movement could end everything, the small life in his hands and his own. He sets the cub down on the ground and withdraws his hands. The mother lynx moves in immediately. She nudges it with her nose, breathes it in, examines every inch of that tiny body with an instinct that doesn't need to be learned, the kind that only mothers carry. For just a moment, the aggression in her eyes gives way to something else, something softer, something breaking open. But the crisis is not over. The second cub is still trapped, and this time it's worse. A root as thick as a human thigh is pressing directly down onto its back legs, pinned so deep into the mud that Marcus cannot see where it ends. The cub is motionless, no longer strong enough to tremble. Just breathing, faint, uneven, like a flame about to go out. Marcus wraps both hands around the root and pulls. The forest doesn't yield. Decades of growth, tons of compacted earth, the weight of an entire collapsed section of wilderness, all of it pushing back against 2 bare human hands. He pulls until the veins in his neck stand out, until his knuckles crack, until his vision starts to blur from the pressure building in his skull. The mother lynx stands behind him, not attacking, not fleeing, just their eyes fixed on his every movement, breathing hard, waiting with the kind of patience that only desperation can produce. Outside, the storm tightens its grip, the forest goes darker, and Marcus uses everything he has left and pulls. Then, the mother lynx does something Marcus will never find the words to describe. She steps forward, lowers her head, and uses her own skull and shoulders, the muscles built to bring down prey, to wedge herself directly under the root, right beside his straining hands. Then she pushes upward, full force, every ounce of wild strength an apex predator possesses, aimed in a single direction. They are working together. A defenseless human and an animal that could kill him in 3 seconds, united against the weight of the forest. With one final, agonizing joint push, the massive root shifts, just a few inches, but enough. Marcus yanks the second cub free and collapses backward into the dirt, his back hitting the ground hard, his chest heaving like a man who just surfaced from underwater. He lies there, staring up at a canopy, shuddering in the storm, and cannot speak. The reunion happens right in front of him. The mother lynx pulls both cubs into her chest, pressing them tight, wrapping her entire body around them like a living fortress. She licks away every streak of mud, every small wound, every inch of their fur with a love that is raw, fierce, and completely unguarded. Nothing in the world is gentler and more terrifying at the same time. Marcus sits perfectly still on the cold ground, afraid to move. He knows he is witnessing something that doesn't belong to him, a private moment of the wild, the kind nature never intended human eyes to see. The most savage, most solitary predator in these forests has dissolved completely into a mother. Then she stops. She lifts her head slowly, heavily, and looks directly into Marcus's eyes. The panic is gone completely from those golden irises. What remains isn't relief. It isn't gratitude in any human sense. It's something deeper and quieter, an acknowledgement. She looks at him as though she's saying she knows. She remembers, and this moment will never happen again. Then she reaches down, lifts each cub gently by the scruff and jaws that could crush bone, and carries them one by one into the dark of the forest, toward a shelter only she knows. Marcus backs away, step by step, his heart still pounding, his head still spinning. And somewhere in his chest, something without a name, not pride, not relief, not any emotion he had ever felt before this moment. He had reached into the wildest, most dangerous, and perhaps most honest part of nature with bare hands, and walked back out. And nature gently reached back. Months pass. The memory of that night doesn't fade. It deepens, sharpens, like a scar on the inside that no one else can see. Marcus still patrols that same trail, still drives through that same stretch of forest, but he never looks at it the same way. It was a routine patrol. He stopped the vehicle, stepped out to clear a fallen branch from the path, 10 seconds of work, nothing more. He turned back around, and his heart stopped. Less than 6 meters away, sitting perfectly upright in the middle of the trail, motionless as a statue carved from forest shadow, was the mother lynx. Marcus froze, breath catching in his throat, every alarm in his mind firing at once. Adult lynx, territorial, no exit, no weapon. Is she hunting? Had the months since taught her that humans are something that can be taken down? But she didn't move. Not a single muscle shifted. She simply sat there, composed, silent, her golden eyes fixed directly on his face with a focus that didn't belong to a predator locking onto prey. It was the gaze of a creature that recognized him. Then the brush behind her moved. From the shadow of the forest, 2 juvenile lynxes stepped out confident, healthy, their thick coats catching the pale morning light. They stood beside their mother, shoulder to shoulder, watching Marcus with a calm that had been inherited from the one who taught them how to survive in these woods. Marcus couldn't breathe. It was them. The 2 creatures no bigger than his fist that he had pulled from the mud in the middle of a storm standing before him now. Grown, strong, and alive. The things he had risked his life to save were looking back at him with eyes that no longer held any fear. All 3 lynxes stood still. No aggression, no retreat, just standing there as though they had come to show him something. As though this was what the mother had decided he needed to know. Then, after a moment so long, Marcus felt the entire forest holding its breath with him. The mother lynx rose, unhurried, unafraid. She turned, tilted her head gently toward her cubs, and the whole family dissolved into the forest as silently as if they had never been there at all. Marcus stood alone on the trail, eyes burning, hands trembling. In all his years working in the wild, everything he had learned, witnessed, read about animal behavior, nothing had prepared him for this. That kindness can be remembered. That the boundary between species, no matter how thick, can sometimes be crossed by a mother. Maybe nature isn't indifferent. Maybe it's simply been waiting for someone worthy enough to show it to. If this story moved, you leave a comment below. And subscribe so you don't miss stories like this one. Because nature still has so much to say if we're willing to listen.